and I'll accept the motion on the agenda. It is moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Walsh, that we accept the agenda as presented. Are there any additions to the agenda at this point in time? Any additions at all? No, hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried. Next would be the, oh no, I got this screwed up. The minutes and action report from the meeting of September 20th. I'll accept the motion to accept the minutes as presented. Moved by Councillor Akers, seconded by Councillor Stoyles. Any errors or omissions, again, for the public meeting of September 20th? Any errors or omissions? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion carried. Business arising from the minutes of September 20th. Any business arising? We're obviously missing Councillor Lane these days. Any business arising? None? None? Okay. You were trying there, were you, John?
Oh, no. I was just going to count, but I thought
better to leave it alone. It may be best just to leave that alone for the time going. Next item on the agenda, proclamations and presentations, and that, council, is where the people in the gallery come in today. We have two proclamations that we're going to be signing this afternoon. The first one will be for Fire Prevention Week, and I want to welcome here with us Fire Inspector Cara Party and Superintendent Derek Chafe, who are down there in the corner. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read the proclamation, and then, Cara, I'm going to get you to come up here with me and give a few words on exactly what's planned for this year's Fire Prevention Week. Reading into the record, whereas the City of Mount Pearl is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting our city and town. Cost you $20, Derek, you and Cara. And it goes to Children's Wish, by the way. And whereas fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes are where people are at greatest risk of fire, and whereas cooking equipment is a leading cause of home structure fires and associated injuries, and the third leading cause of home fire deaths. Oh, that's a bad statistic. And whereas heating and electrical equipment and smoking materials are among the leading causes of reported home fires, and whereas working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in reported fires in half, and whereas the City of Mount Pearl's first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire deaths and injuries through prevention and protection education, and whereas Mount Pearl residents are responsive to public education measures and are able to take personal steps to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes, and whereas residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire, and whereas Fire Prevention Week 2011 has a theme, Protect Your Family from Fire, effectively serves to remind us all of the simple actions we can take to keep our homes and families safe from fire during Fire Prevention Week and year-round. Therefore, I, Randy Sims, Mayor of the City of Mount Pearl, do hereby proclaim the week of October 9th through to the 15th as Fire Prevention Week, and I urge all the citizens of Mount Pearl to heed the important safety messages of Fire Prevention Week and to support the many public safety activities and efforts of the St. John's Regional Fire Department's Fire and Emergency Services. With that, I will affix my signature, and if you would, I would ask Fire Inspector Cara Party to come up and address council and outline some of the plans and activities that you might have for Fire Prevention Week this year. I'm going to get you to use this microphone to do it, Cara. There you go.
Fire Prevention Week kicks off this Saturday, actually October the 8th. We're starting out with a fire prevention parade, which starts at Zellers on Stavanger Drive, and we go all the way out through Paradise, out through Mount Pearl, through the Goulds, and then we end up at Mount Pearl Station. So if anybody lives along that route, feel free to come out and see all of our equipment. And we also have some other associations that we deal with, the Rovers, Fire and Emergency Services, Canadian Blood Services, those types of people. All throughout next week, from the 11th to the 15th, we're going to have an information booth set up in the Avalon Mall. So feel free to drop by for some information. We've got lots of goodies for the children. Then next Saturday, we finish off Fire Prevention Week with Fire Services Recognition Day at Central Fire Station. It's basically an open house. Drop by for some pea soup. We've all heard of the infamous pea soup in the fire hall. Bring your kids, grandkids, friends, whatever you want. Come in and see the equipment, talk to the guys, have a tour, and have some pea soup. There's hot dogs for the kids, too, because kids don't usually like pea soup. And also, we have a poster contest that runs through next week as well in the elementary schools, and we'll get submissions of posters from children, and they have a chance to win Fire Chief for a day.
Okay, it sounds wonderful. Well, Kara, thank you very much for this. I'm going to give you this copy because we have one, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We really appreciate the work that everybody in the fire service does. And good luck with all of the things that you're going to be doing this week. That's excellent. Anybody with a comment? We'll hear the sirens, I have no doubt. The second proclamation we have today is a proclamation regarding World Breastfeeding Week, and to my knowledge, folks, this is the first time that I have signed this one. I can't recall it. We've done this before. It's number 2, is it? Can't recall before, but
Last year you weren't here, Your Worship, and I had the privilege to sign like your
that's why. Okay, it was all right. I can't recall doing it, but this is year number 2 for us. Well, I'll read the proclamation into the record. I will introduce to you, though, that we have, and I'm going to ask you to wave. We have Bev Clark, who's the Vice President of Clinical Services for Eastern Health, down here with us. Hi, Bev. We have, it looks like Cheyenne Comden. Is that right? That's Cheyenne, and Cheyenne's got a brand new baby boy, just 6 weeks old, and his name is Kitchener. They call him Kitch, and he's named after Poppy. And that's all I'm going to say about that. We have Josephine St. Croix here with us, who is Parent and Child Health Coordinator as well. Hi. Welcome to the Chambers, Josephine. And we have Nicole Howell and her son Aaron, who is with us here today. And this young fella is Clark. Hello, Clark. So we're going to read the proclamation into the record here, and as we did the last time, I believe we're going to invite Bev Clark. Bev, you're going to come up and say a few words about this very important function. We're going to say, whereas the week of October 1st to 7th is Breastfeeding Week in Canada, and breastfeeding is promoted by UNICEF, the World Health Organization, the World Alliance for Breastfeeding Action, Health Canada, Infant Feeding Action Coalition, and the Coalition Pediatric Society, the Eastern Health and Regional Breastfeeding Committees throughout Eastern Health. And whereas all available knowledge indicates that human milk optimally enhances the growth, development, and well-being of an infant by providing the best possible nutrition, protection against allergies, and the promotion of maternal and infant bonding. And whereas breast milk helps infants form strong immune systems to fight many illnesses and have a decreased risk of chronic diseases later in life. And whereas mothers who breastfeed experience many positive effects from their experience, including the decreased risk of breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and osteoporosis. And whereas breastfeeding needs strong promotional and support strategies to counteract aggressive advertising of breast milk substitutes. And whereas many women and families need immediate community support and information to breastfeed successfully. And whereas breastfeeding promotes the health of a community and benefits society through lower health costs for infants, a healthier workforce, stronger family bonds, and less waste. Therefore be it resolved that the week of October 1st to 7th, 2011 be proclaimed World Breastfeeding Week in the city of Mount Pearl, with special emphasis on breastfeeding promotion, and urge all citizens to seek reliable nutrition information and support breastfeeding as a high priority for healthier babies in our city, to which I will affix my signature. And Ms. Clark, if you would, I'm going to ask you to come up and give us some information on exactly what the plans are for the promotion of Breastfeeding Week this year. There you go.
Thank you, and good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here to celebrate World Breastfeeding Week and sign the proclamation here in Mount Pearl. It's wonderful to be here. Just to give you a little bit of information, and the mayor, I think, has covered most of it, but our theme this year is Talk to Me, Breastfeeding a 3D Experience. And really what we're focusing on is the importance of the bond between mom and babe, and also the other part of that is the support that we provide through our families, friends, and communities. So how do we make our communities breastfeeding friendly? And that's really one of our challenges out to our municipalities, is how do we continue to do that? I did want to emphasize that it really is, breastfeeding is such a benefit to children, to the babies, and to them as they grow. When we work in the healthcare system, we're always looking at ways that we can decrease our illness and the long-term positive effects in terms of our chronic illnesses, such as diabetes, asthma, cardiovascular disease, and obesity, are all reduced with babies who have been breastfed. And I don't think we usually think about that all the time, but the importance of that, and of course in terms of the moms, in terms of particular cancers such as breast cancer. The World Health Organization recommends that we have breastfeeding full-time for the first 6 months of the baby's life, and that continued breastfeeding through and into the second year is recommended. Our rates in this province are about 63% overall. That is not high enough. We want them to be higher. And in the city of Mount Pearl, it's around 65%. We do have data that gives us a breakdown across the country, across the province.
Are we at a national average then, or are we below?
We are below the national average. And so one of our challenges, actually, and one of the things we're doing this week is we have a number of municipalities that are signing proclamations. And one of our challenges is to our communities to get out there and, as a council, think about things that you may be able to do to really promote breastfeeding and breastfeeding atmospheres, in your facilities, where your moms are going to be. How friendly are your different areas in terms of moms being comfortable breastfeeding and us being able to be comfortable with that. So that's probably one of the things we really want people to be thinking about, and dare I say, different municipalities could challenge each other on that. I won't mention any names, of course, of other municipalities.
No, we wouldn't do that.
But we have about 10 different municipalities throughout the week signing proclamations. And
Wonderful.
That's really what we're wanting to do today, is just create awareness. There was an activity at the mall, Avalon Mall, on the weekend, and it was called the Breastfeeding Challenge. And I said, well, what does that actually mean? Wasn't quite sure what that meant. But we actually had a lot of communities who all at the one time called in and told us, what percentage of their community, how many moms did they have breastfeeding that day. And then all of that information gets collected to see where we are in terms of our actual rates and statistics across the province and across the country. So just wonderful to be here, and a wonderful opportunity to promote health and wellness in your community. So thank you very much.
We thank you very much, and we wish you all great success with this promotion. We all realize, I think, how valuable this is, because it's natural and therefore it's healthy, and the more of it that we encourage women and child to do, the better. And this, we trust, will be known as a breastfeeding friendly community. Thank you, Bev, very much. We appreciate it.
Your Worship, I'd like a picture.
You want a snap taken?
Yes.
Oh, well, come on up. We can do that.
Bring the babies.
Bring the babies. My God, we got, sure, we even got grandparents on council here. Right?
I think
We have grandparents here as well.
I'm not. I am the only grandparent on council. Brian.
And Dave, you grandparent? You?
Just me.
We only have one grandparent on council.
And I have one 5-year-old who just started kindergarten.
I thought we had more than one.
No,
Who's this father?
Michelle is.
This is Kitch. My wife would steal your son. My mom.
He's really tiny.
4 weeks. Seems content enough. Let's hold up the proclamation here. Let's do that. Okay, ready? Pretty close here. Deputy Mayor.
Bev, before you go, if I could just ask a couple of questions. Yes. First thing, I was just curious, what is the national breastfeeding average? I don't know if you mentioned it and I missed it, or... 93. To about 82%. Okay.
Roughly 65.
So we're a good 20% behind.
You also mentioned, too, about encouraging municipalities to make our facilities more breastfeeding friendly. And what sorts of things could we look at to do that? Like what would make a mother feel more comfortable, say, at the Smallwood Arena or the New Glacier Arena or the Reed Centre or whatever? What could we do to help that along?
We actually have plans. We're signing a proclamation. Mount Pearl and St. John's last year were the first that I was aware of that signed a breastfeeding proclamation. We're very proud of that. We spearheaded this year. We actually invited every municipality in the Eastern Health region to proclaim a proclamation. What we plan on doing with this following up is we're planning on putting together a package that will actually come to City Council that we will encourage you to kind of among your community agencies within the city. And it'll be things like windmill claims or these proclamations. I just asked Mona if she would like to keep it because most of the other municipalities are actually hosting it. So that when people walk in, that during this week they will at least, proclaim that, the Pearl supports breastfeeding. A lot of the other municipalities have also placed it on their website to say that they are in support of it. So those are the things that we're looking for. And throughout this coming year, one of my roles, my position, is that I will be looking at what other municipalities are doing across the country to support breastfeeding. But we're going to start with windmill claims and some information. And without hesitation, this here is a beautiful example of supporting breastfeeding. When we have AIDS crying, the city council meeting, which says a lot.
What he doesn't understand is we all kind of feel the same way right now.
Yeah, you should understand that on council, we're quite familiar with people crying. Usually us.
Think what you're doing is fabulous.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, very much. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
We, as they say, are very much on side with all of that. Thank you. We are now going to get into our committee reports. Before we do, just to, I guess, put on the record here for the benefit of everybody that our committee structure has now changed for the next 2 years of the term of council. And I'm just going to read out who the new committee chairs are and the committees they are now involved in. Corporate services will now be handled by Mr. Jim Locke. The member to that will be Councillor Dave Aker, the alternate John Walsh. Community services will now be Paula Tessier with Jim Locke involved. Planning and land use, the chair will be Dave Aker. The member at the moment is Paul Lane. The alternate is Jim Locke. Economic Development, Councillor Lucy Stoyles retains chair of that committee, joined by Councillor John Walsh as the member. Public Works will be Councillor John Walsh's chair. Paula Tessier will serve on that committee. Engineering Services will, for now, be Paul Lane. The member, Lucy Stoyles, the alternate, Paula Tessier. And it's under this new committee structure that we're going to do committee reports today. That being said, Community Services Committee report. I'm calling on Councillor Tessier.
Weird.
Councillor Tessier, I know
It's
this is
weird.
unusual now, isn't it?
It's weird. I've never heard those words before in 6 years. Okay, well, we have a very brief agenda. The first item is for information purposes. The Oktoberfest Craft Fair is happening from, is it Monday, October? It starts on Monday, October 10th, from 10 to 4 at the Reed Center. Of course, if anybody's been there, and I think every member of council has been to the Oktoberfest Craft Fair, you can get almost anything there, especially with Christmas coming up. For those hard to shop for people, definitely go up and pay a visit to some of the booths up there to see what's there. The admission is $2. Children under 12 get in for free, and of course the Marconi Girl Guides are going to be there set up with lunch and refreshments with sausages and sauerkraut, of course in keeping with the Oktoberfest theme. And of course, if anybody wants any more information, they can contact Krista Tucker here at City Hall. The next item, Your Worship, has to do with the grand opening of the new Glacier Ice Pad. Residents of all ages are invited to the opening celebration of the Glacier Expansion Project. That's the second arena On Sunday, October 16th, there's a ceremony that's going to start at 6, followed by live entertainment and a free skating party and refreshments. And everybody likes a free skate, especially on brand new ice. So we really look forward to that and encourage as many residents as possible to lace up their skates and come out. Your Worship, I'd love to see you on a pair of skates, I have to say. Little challenge, just saying.
I can hardly stand in a pair of shoes, and you want to put me on blades?
We'll put a helmet on you,
So, well, believe me, a helmet, pads.
guaranteed.
Yeah, as chubby as I am, I'm still going to need pads.
But
I'm looking forward to it,
yeah,
though.
it's going to be a wonderful event.
I think it is absolutely
So it is
marvelous.
at 6 o'clock because it says 2 o'clock.
Well, the ceremony starts at 6, but when
what's
I
that
looked
at
at the 2 o'clock time, I'm wondering what that was, and I wonder if there was a little bit of confusion there, or if maybe I'm just confused. The ceremony itself starts at 6, and it says it is followed by live entertainment and a free skating party and refreshments. Mr. Tremarny, maybe you could.
What's happening from
I think
2 to
that's-
6?
I think that's a typo. That
Yeah.
should be in the afternoon. That's Sunday afternoon.
Yes.
Yeah. 6 was the old time.
6 is
correct.
the old time,
Yes.
So starting at
so we're
2.
starting at 2.
That's what I thought.
Thursday evening.
Yes.
So
what
we're
I
starting
thought
at
it
2
must
and
be
not
at
6.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Apologies.
All right.
Apologies.
Perfect.
All right, that's good to know.
So
Thank
the
you for the
ceremony
clarification.
starts at 2.
It is 2 o'clock, yeah.
That's what I had in my schedule.
I read, what's that? I read the agenda. Of course I read the agenda. Hello. But yes, okay, so 2 o'clock, so thanks for the clarification. Next, Your Worship, we're really proud about this next one. The Portraits of Honor are coming to Mount Pearl. The Portraits of Honor is a tour which is a tribute to Canada's fallen soldiers. It's a mural stretching 10 feet by 40 feet, and it features the faces of the 156 Canadian soldiers, sailors, and aircrew that have lost their lives in Afghanistan. So this is a very, very significant event that we're going to be playing host to. It's going to come to the Track and Field Complex on Thursday, October 27th for the day. It's being coordinated by the Mount Pearl Cadet and Kinsman Clubs with the support from the Department of Community Services. And of course, when we have more details, we're going to update Council and the community at large, and certainly encourage as many residents as possible to come out and pay a visit to this Portrait of Honor. I think it's really important that we always acknowledge the sacrifice that our service people make.
Of course, the
in
reason
order
why
to-
they're coming to Mount Pearl is because we actually had
That's right.
a soldier lost in Afghanistan.
Warrant Officer Richard Nolan
Yeah.
was lost in Afghanistan, so I think it's particularly poignant for us as a city and as a community.
No, we got the
of people.
schools going to tour it, but we don't have all of the details of the whole
We
day
don't have
yet.
all the details yet, but we'll release them as soon as we get it.
Sorry, Councillor Walsh?
We have included, I think, invitations to all of the people who've served, to the Nolan family, people, from Mount Pearl who served in Afghanistan, as well as to the veterans.
Yes, all the Legion people,
All the
everything.
Legion people are all invited, so I think they've done their due diligence in terms of the list of people, and it should be, as you say,
Yeah.
a tremendous event.
Thank you.
And finally, we were pleased to have representatives from the St. John's Regional Fire Department here with us today to sign the proclamation. And, of course, Fire Prevention Week, the parade is on October the 8th, and we've got the route there that the fire brigade is going to travel. And, of course, Commonwealth Avenue, Old Placentia Road, Smallwood Drive, and onto Olympic is included in that. So that's brought forward for the information of Council as well, and we look forward to that.
Bring up anytime.
Break up anytime.
At any moment at all.
And well, see, all they got to do is lights and sirens, and everybody's going to stop. So it's all good.
There it is. Community services done. Your first shot at community services. We're now going to turn things over to Deputy Mayor Jim Locke for corporate services. Deputy Mayor.
This is new as well. I'm used to presenting
Planning and land
last. Yeah, last and long. Weird, isn't it? There, it is weird. All right, the first item here, Your Worship, is a tax deferral for low-income earners. The roll number is outlined there. And the committee is recommending approval to defer taxes in the amount of $1,073.72. And this, of course, is in accordance with Council's policy for low-income earners, and I so move.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Locke, seconded by Councillor Aker. Question or comment? All in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion carried.
The second item, Your Worship, has to do with some professional development and training for Councillor Stoyles. The committee is recommending approval, again, in accordance with the professional development and training policy, that Councillor Stoyles attend the following meetings. One is Municipalities Newfoundland Labrador Eastern Regional Meeting, September 23rd, 24th, which is passed, and also the Northern Regional Meeting, September 30th and October 1st in St. Anthony. So I bring this in, and I so move.
Moved, seconded by Councillor Aker. All in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion carried.
And the last item, Your Worship, are the invoices for approval. We're recommending that the following invoices be approved, and they total $407,205.27. And I move that this total be accepted as presented.
Moved, seconded. Questions or comments on any of the invoices listed? Hearing none. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
That's it for me, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you. Economic Development without a report today. We're going to Engineering Services Committee. Councillor Stoyles, if you would.
We just have one item, and that's the upgrade, the tender for the 2011 street upgrade, and we're recommending it will go to the lowest bidder, Newfound Construction, at $1,781,800.
That would be modern.
Modern paving. You got it backwards.
Yeah.
It says
Modern paving is the low one there. Oh, modern is
okay, I don't have the update.
no, it's just modern. There's only two bids. Modern and
Okay,
lower or something.
okay, to Madron, and, because the one I have is,
You have the old version.
I have the old version? Okay.
It's still $1,781,000.
It is Madron, because that's not the one I have.
Yeah, modern
I have
paving,
the
not
old
Newfound Construction.
version. Okay.
All right. And it is moved by Councillor Stoyles, seconded by Councillor Tessier. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Well, we got that piece right. That's good. Okay. That's all there was for that one item? All right. We're up to Planning and Land Use. The new chair is Councillor Aker.
I have big shoes to fill, hey?
You do indeed.
First item is a house cleaning matter, Your Worship. It's the related to road closure and revised street naming associated with the Mount Carson Avenue realignment at, I guess this is the northern part of Mount Carson, as well as Granger Road, which has now been eliminated through the new bypass road that goes carries Mount Carson all the way over towards Wyatt. So the house cleaning that's in order now is that basically we want to for council to declare that that northern part of Mount Carson and Granger is now closed, which will now enable us to transfer the lands from the city back over to the property owners that are taking possession as part of our land swap for the road bit. In addition, we want to change the name of Mount Carson so that it goes all the way out now to Kenmount Road, which means effectively changing the name at the corner of what is now Wyatt and Kenmount to Wyatt and Mount Carson. And in addition to that, we have a business there, Avalon Ford, which is currently listed as 80 Wyatt Boulevard. Of course, if Wyatt is renamed to Mount Carson, we'll also have to change the civic address for Avalon Ford as well. And
So it will become what number, Mount Carson? And the folks at Avalon Ford know we're doing this to them?
We talked about it in committee. There is a block of numbers assigned to that area. I believe Director Yefchuk might be able to comment on that. I don't have the number.
We're going to number it at Mount Carson or Kenmount. It was Kenmount we were going to assign the number to, yes?
Well, is that right? It will, it will become a Kenmount Road number. Okay, that's fine. All right, that's fine.
All right, well, I stand corrected then. Is there another document loaded in? I guess I just think it was like the other one. But anyway, it's Kenmount Road, right? That we're going with, not Mount Carson. Okay, that's fine, and I so move.
All right, it is moved, seconded by Deputy Mayor Locke. One other question here, just from me very quickly, gentlemen. Grangeville Road comes out of the system completely. What happens to it now? Do we make a commitment to reactivate Grangeville Road as a name somewhere else? And I'm thinking in terms of I don't know the history behind that particular name.
Your Worship, the Grangeville Road was, I think, was requested by, I believe, it may have been the Stamp family in that area. What we will do is we're not going to eliminate the road name. What we'll do is that we'll have it there, and if we have another road in that area, we will assign that road name to that new road.
That would be a priority name now for that new development, because there's going to be other streets developed in that area as a result of all these changes.
Correct.
We see them going in there now.
Correct.
So we'll make one of those streets, Grangeville Drive or Boulevard or Crescent or Place.
Yes,
or
Your Worship.
something.
Yep. That's
Okay,
intention.
I just wondered what we would do after taking that road out. Yep. All right, thank you. I have no other comment or question. Anybody else with anything before we move the motion? Hearing none, I'll call it then. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion is carried.
Yeah, of course, the nice thing I guess associated with that change is there is no civic addresses right now on Grangel, which could possibly cause confusion. I guess,
No,
if
none
this
whatsoever.
Went to another subdivision.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Good. The second item, Your Worship, is a request for the acquisition of some city-owned land on the rear of 84 Smallwood Drive. When this subdivision was developed, probably back, I'm thinking in the early 70s, there was a strip of land that was never really included in narrow parcel land that belongs to the city, was never included in the rear of the lots. And basically, this land has become orphaned, and the homeowner has approached us and asked, could he or she acquire that land from the city? And the city's looked at it. We've done this before in the past with similar pieces of land. The city has no use for the piece of land. And, of course, the homeowner would commit to doing the survey and all the legal work. And I move that we transfer this land, subject to the cost of the survey and legal costs being borne by the homeowner.
So what does he get, about 12 feet?
It is a total of, how many square meters? 57 square meters, basically. Yeah.
610 square feet.
3 meters, which is about, say, 13, 14 feet. Say,
I was saying 12. So.
515. So it's a very small strip of land.
Yeah,
and actually, they're probably keeping
they're
care of it
using it
as we
now.
speak.
The majority of the people down there are using it now. And we're saying, look, you survey it, include it in your property, and we'll give it to you.
Absolutely. I so
Okay,
move.
you're moved by and seconded by Deputy Mayor. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
The next item is related to the Beckland Industrial Park Extension Phase 2. Basically, what we're looking here for is approval for the mayor and the CAO to execute a subdivision development agreement, and that is pursuant to a development permit that was issued on May 24th to Eastport Properties, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. Questions, comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Contrary minded?
Thank
Motion
you.
is carried.
Next item is a variance request for 52 Casters Drive. The homeowner there is wishing to put an extension on the dwelling. The house is in the residential medium density zone, which requires an 8-meter setback from the rear of the property. The proponent is proposing to have an extension to the house, which would end up with a 7.2-meter setback. And this, of course, falls within council's discretionary power in that council can approve a 10% variance. This is all subject, of course, to a public consultation process. And council has gone out, or city staff have gone out, and consulted with the homeowners, I think within 150 meters of the property, advertised it in the Telegram, went through all the city departments, and basically no negative commentary has come back, especially from the nearby homeowners. So subject to the Mount Pearl development regulations, the building regulations, inspection services requirements, and planning services requirements, I move we approve this variance.
Moved, seconded. Questions? Comments? That he's going to block the wind.
Here you go.
I noticed something here in the plan, the neighborhood layout, Grandy Crescent, Casters, Exploits Place. Does anybody notice there are 3 vacant building lots there in that corner?
On the corner.
Are they actual building lots, or they can't be used at all? Mr. Yevchek, you see that? Again, I'm a dog for the word infill. I love it.
Your Worship, there is an issue of property ownership on at least 2 of those lots.
Really?
Yes, Your Worship. Part of the lot is within the ownership of one property owner, and the back piece is in ownership of another. The third lot, if you take a look, actually, and this is the lot to the southeast, is actually the access into our open space area. So that's not a building lot either. That's the actual access. So that's why that's not developed.
So there's not 3 building lots, there's really 2.
Yes, Your Worship.
And those 2 building lots, there's an issue around ownership.
Property ownership, yes, sir.
If that were fixed, those 2 lots are available.
Yes, Your Worship. Yeah.
There's nothing like easements and other things that would preclude somebody building on them,
there-
including the current owners, we're saying.
Yeah, there is an easement, though, when you raise it. There is an easement coming through at least 2 of those lots, but the easement, when the subdivision was designed, it was designed around the easement.
Yeah.
And the easement actually comes straight down Casters Drive from Topsail Road. And that's why the third lot, the one that is the open space access into our open space area, that's why it was identified as an open space access, because you can't really put a building on that lot.
What is that open space? What do we do with it?
Now, there's a playground down there.
We have a playground in that now.
Correct. Now, there's still more area there that can be developed, but there is a
Do we
playground
have the
there.
walkway in?
Further
Yes, we
down
do.
below, you do, but not up there. There isn't there a...
By that last house there now I'm
Yeah.
talking?
The walkway goes all the way up to the playground.
It's parallel to
And there's an entrance there?
Yep.
From that house? That
In my understanding, there is, yeah.
Okay. Well, it's just that it would seem to me that some developer out there looking to do housing and, would look at those two lots and say there's a possibility maybe from a developer who is now finished and gone to pick, anyway. All right, I thank you. We'll call the question. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried. Sorry, Councillor Ager.
Oh, that's
Carry on.
okay. Good discussion. Next item is the city purchase of a residence on 107 Smallwood Drive. The amount proposed is $287,500. This property is required by the city to implement the city's plan to upgrade the access to the Team Gushu Recreation Complex. As you know, the access way is quite tight. By purchasing this property, the plan down the road is to remove the property and increase the flow of traffic coming and going from a very, very busy location in the city, especially in the summer. And I so move.
Moved and seconded that we purchase this property. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried. The house, are we going to demolish the house or move the house? Are we letting the owner have the house if they want the house?
No, we want to, Your Worship, I think the plan there is to tear the house down, widen the entrance, improve the traffic flow onto and off of the Team Gushu site. The house has no value to us whatsoever.
No, that's the question I'm asking, because I know of other circumstances when this has been done with other people, myself included. Company bought my house. They had no intention of doing anything with the house, and they're tearing it down. They're using the land for something else.
And that's the same
They
plan
said,
with
if you want to move the house off the foundation, take it and go. Are we offering the owner the same?
That would affect the purchase price.
No, we're not making, that wasn't part of the offer. To my understanding, was the offer was for the purchase of the land, the house. We don't have any use for the house. I don't know if we've thought through, the concept of potentially selling the house to be lifted.
Yeah.
But our purpose in acquiring was to get the land, get the access, so that we can improve the entranceway. We also need to put there have been plans that haven't been finalized to put a substantially impressive sign for the Team Gushu complex and all of that. And I think we have an opportunity now to do that in a more organized.
Oh no, this is
fashion.
definitely
So but to answer your question,
thing.
the house has.
I
for
just
us, it
wondered,
has
did
no
the owner
value.
ask?
Yeah. No,
You
we
know.
haven't.
No?
We didn't include that.
Because the two guys that were next to me when we did it, they turned their houses, both of them. They picked them up, put them on flatbeds, and took them into the woods and made summer cabins out of them.
Well,
They really did.
it's something to consider.
Only making
Because,
it complicated.
but if we can reduce our demolition costs associated with removing
You're
the
just
property,
you just want to
why not?
If they want the house, give it to them.
You know?
Yeah. All right.
We wouldn't want it to delay,
No.
the process next summer, I'm assuming, of getting that entranceway opened up. And,
we will call a question on this. We're buying the house. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary. Motion is carried.
The next item, Your Worship, is a notice of motion.
Yep.
In accordance with Section 39 of the City of Mount Pearl Act 1988, take notice that in accordance with Council's public notification policy, I will, at a regular meeting of Council, move an amendment to the Mount Pearl Development Regulations 1988 that, if enacted, will 1. In Schedule C, amend the condition section of the residential use zones as follows. In the section titled Accessory Buildings, delete Condition 2 and replace it with the following. The maximum floor area of accessory buildings shall be 7% of the lot coverage up to a maximum of 55.75 meters square or 600 square feet. The purpose of the proposed amendment is to revise the condition with respect to the maximum size of accessory buildings on residential lots.
Thank you, sir.
The next item is the development permit list. You see there before you for an office building permit number 52, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. In favor? Contrary-minded? Carried.
Next item is the building construction for residential. The permits total for the period September 16th to 30th. Sorry, 600 and is that 681,600?
Yes.
Phew, the eyes almost failed me. And I so move.
Moved, seconded. Question or comment? All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried.
And one final thing, we have the commercial building construction for September 16th to 30th, and that totals $30,500, and I so move.
Moved, seconded, in favor? Contrary minded? Carried.
That's it, Your Worship. Thank you.
And that concludes all committee reports. We're up to new business. Started with Councillor Aker last week. This week we'll start with Councillor Tessier.
Just one quick item, actually, Your Worship. This is our last public meeting before the provincial election, so I just wanted to take an opportunity to wish all the candidates well. Next week, I know it's going to be a nerve-wracking time and a very busy time for the next 7 days.
Most of them lose, you know.
Yes, I know. It's very sad, actually.
There's
Because a lot of effort
I don't know
goes
how many
into
are
it.
running, 180, something like that?
Yeah, and I can tell you, you know, it's something as well when you aren't successful, you are as much, if not more, concerned for the people who've helped you out than you are for yourself. So again, it takes a tremendous amount of effort to run a campaign, and I know it's been a long one, and I'm sure everybody will be very happy when it's over on October 11th. So I just wanted to wish everybody well, and I know that the Deputy Mayor did so last week, and I would like to take advantage of this opportunity to extend appreciation to Dave Denine, to Minister Denine. This is our last public meeting as well before he concludes, well, not quite officially, his position with the province. I'm not sure if he is yet. He's still. No. He hangs on yet. The new cabinet needs to be sworn in. But again, I want to take advantage of an opportunity to thank him. He has been tremendously loyal to this city and will continue to be, there's no doubt. And we can all call him a colleague, a friend, and he has served us exceptionally well over the past 25 years. Something to that effect. He hangs in these chambers, and we'll look forward to seeing him again in a less official capacity, but certainly just as much nonetheless.
Hear, hear. Deputy Mayor.
Just one item, Your Worship. We had the passing of one of our residents, Mr. Boyd Legg, and I just wanted to acknowledge that publicly. I had the privilege of knowing Mr. Legg, and I taught his 3 daughters. All members of council know that Mr. Legg was heavily involved. He paid attention to provincial, politics, and national, and certainly municipal. And I did get a chance to visit the funeral home and pass on my condolences to his wife and his 3 daughters. But I just wanted to acknowledge him here publicly and ask that perhaps, if we haven't already done so, send a little note of condolences on behalf of council to his family.
Yes,
That's
sir.
it. Thank you, Your
Absolutely.
Worship.
He was a fairly outspoken and engaged citizen, I think it's fair to say. Commented to all of us on all kinds of issues.
Indeed.
And in my other capacity, I heard from him often. So yes, it was a tragic loss. He died young. It's unfortunate. We will certainly see to it that a message of condolence from council does go to the family. Councillor Stiles.
Thank you, Your Worship. One thing I wanted to mention today was the Wade Lack report. Dr. Lack was commissioned by MNL to do a report to look at
He didn't have to write War and Peace, though, did he? But apparently he did.
He certainly had. It's certainly a lengthy report. I just wanted to mention it today, and that it will be on the MNL website, and it's going to be talked about, I'm sure, at the MNL convention in November. But it's certainly a lengthy report, and where it was just released today, I'm sure most people wouldn't have had the opportunity to have a look at it. But it talks about the municipal structures and how to deal with municipal operating grants and things like that. It's a great read. It's a long read, but there is a summary there at the end for anybody who don't want to read the whole report, but it's certainly interesting.
There's a good executive summary, I understand.
It's a good executive summary, and it's I think it's going to be great for the provincial government to follow, hopefully, once the new elected people are put in place. And we're very pleased with the report, and it was released today. The Northeast Avalon Joint Council, I have their minutes from their last meeting, and they are also on the MNL website. And I attended the meeting out in Collier's last week, and I just want to mention that next meeting, of course, they meet the 3rd Wednesday of every month, and Bay Bulls is the location for the next meeting, and I think the one for November is here in Mount Pearl. So wanted to mention that as well. And also, Your Worship, as of
it's October, did you say 18th?
October 8th, the 19th.
October 19th, the night of the Business Awards.
Yes, yeah. And also, Your Worship, I want us to send a letter of congratulations on to Chairman Rogers, the board last year put new policies in place that you had to have deadlines in for nominations. The deadline was, of course, on Monday for M&L if you want to run for a position, especially for president and vice president, which is up this year, or any position actually on the board. The deadline was up on Monday, and of course nobody contested Mr. Rogers, so he will be the incoming president of M&L, taking over on November the 5th. So I'd like for us to send off a letter to him, because apparently is nobody. He's president-elect, yeah, but nobody can run against him from the floor this time around. Where before there was a lot of controversy over the years with someone coming up and that. So the board changed their policy, and officially now Mr. Rogers is president-elect.
Very good. He's president-elect.
Yes.
Very good. We should pass on a note of congratulations to him on that. Absolutely.
And the only other thing I want to mention, Your Worship, is the bulk garbage. And of course, bulk garbage was in my area this week, and I just want to say what a fine job. Our stuff was picked up. Some of it was picked up yesterday in the windstorm, and today they were out in full force, and getting some metals still left out around, but for the most part around the neighbourhood is just about all picked up. The only concern is there's a lot of cardboard and boxes that blow away in the wind, so I've noticed an awful lot of cardboard boxes and things that really needs to be picked up that's down in the ditches and that. So with all the wind and everything that we had yesterday, a lot of the stuff that people had blew away. So it's a great job with all stuff in front of the residents, but we really need to have a look at down in the ditches and everything again with such high winds and everything.
Okay.
That's it, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Walsh.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was actually sitting in the chambers in Centreville with Terence Rogers and the Deputy Mayor yesterday when he got the call at 4 o'clock saying that there were no other candidates that were coming for. He's pretty excited, obviously, and pleased. He was excited. I think generally looking forward to the challenge, and it was just, it was kind of uncanny sort of sitting there with him, and he gets his BlackBerry rings, and he gets the official word that he is as of that point president-elect. I just want to echo, I did meet Boyd Legg on a couple of occasions, and I just want to echo the Deputy Mayor's sentiments on that. Not always on the same side of the issue, but I guarantee you one thing, that Boyd Legg did his research. He had data to support the position that he had taken. And quite seriously, I found him to be always very genuine and respectful in presenting his arguments. I remember the last time that I had an opportunity to speak with him, I told him that I always respected his writing, particularly he had a great writing style, and it was concerning the dog park issue. And again, even that night, he presented his case, made the point, but was very dignified, very respectful, and certainly a tremendous loss to his family. So I want to pass along condolences to them as well. None of the ladies mentioned, so I will. Nancy Rich, the passing of Miss Rich. She was not only, I know she's really been known because of her affiliation through the labor movement in particular and the NDP party, but more than anything else, I remember and respect Nancy Rich for the opportunities that she provided for women. She was a very, very strong advocate for women, women's rights, leadership opportunities, women in politics, all those kinds of things. And in many respects, the accolades that she received, and she's received many awards, citations, and all related for the most part to her involvement with women's issues. And I think she's a great loss. She was a real trailblazer. I didn't know her well. I did meet her on just a couple of occasions, sort of informal circumstances, but I understand just a great lady, and I think just a big loss for the province and the labor movement, the NDP party, but particular, a great ambassador for women's issues.
Councillor Walsh, can I make a comment as well on that?
Sure.
I actually wrote her name down as well as soon as we moved on, because I thought about it as well. I happen to be very good friends with some family members of Nancy Rich as well, and they're Mount Pearl residents, several members of her family actually. And there have been lots of stories shared. And when Councillor Walsh says that she was a tremendous advocate for women's movements, she was the youngest of, I think, 9 children, or maybe 10 children. She was the only girl. And for her to be a feminist when it was not in vogue to be a feminist, and especially to be surrounded by so many men in her life, that takes a lot of moxie from a woman, and I'm told that she was full of it, which is wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And I know that she encouraged on a personal level with members of her extended family, especially the young women, to always advocate for what you believe is right and fair, and to always argue against unjustness. So again, Councillor Walsh is right. She's a tremendous loss. My understanding is that she was quite a character, and I'm remorseful for not having met her. But I think as well, it's very fitting that we acknowledge it. Especially, we have residents in Mount Pearl who are mourning her loss on a very personal level, and I think it's really important as well that we acknowledge it. Thank you for the introduction.
Thank you. Councillor Walsh?
Sure. If you grew up in a family with 8 brothers and no sisters, I'd be a strong lobby for women's rights too. So maybe, God love her, maybe that's the reason she was such a strong advocate. I don't think this needs to go to the... tomorrow night, the Under-14 National Soccer tournament is being hosted here in Mount Pearl. I just had a call as I was going out through the door, actually. And I did have time to call Brian Tremarty, our director. The people who are organizing the opening ceremonies have an issue with the forecast tomorrow. It's a lot of heavy wind and rain, and it doesn't look like it's going to let up at all tomorrow. And we have, right next to where the proposed opening ceremonies are taking place, we now have an empty Smallwood Arena. The ice is off, the floor is unobstructed, and they're wondering if they could use that possibly for 45 minutes. I don't see any issue with that at all. Could we just get the support of council just to arrange that with Blair and have them do that? What they want to be able to do is do the simple opening ceremonies, have them march into the Smallwood Arena rather than onto the wet field, and then they're just going to gather for a little social down at the soccer hut, which is right next door. So, we'll be in touch. Maybe tomorrow you can make the arrangements and details. Okay. I don't even know if we need a motion. Just
I think we have the consensus of council here that we'll go ahead and do that. We don't require a motion. What
Other
time
than
is that happening anyway tomorrow evening?
I think it was 6 o'clock. The opening ceremonies were scheduled to begin. Thank you.
Councillor Aker?
Yes, thank you, Worship. And I do have many of those items, and I do want to comment about Minister Denine. I think he made a great contribution to the city over the last few years. A real friend of council, as well as all the citizens of Mount Pearl. I enjoyed working with Dave, both while I was a member of council, as well as a member of various community groups. He had a long and distinguished career, and he will be missed. And also Nancy Rich and Boyd Lake, certainly they will be missed as much too, especially by their family members. Something I'm involved in on October 15th, I'd like to invite you all to, especially your worship, if you'd like to come and bring greetings. The Wishmaker Parade for Children's Wish will be at the Pearlgate Track and Field Complex at registrations at 9:30, and the actual walk, not a parade, it's a walk, will take place at 10:30. So October 15th, that's a Saturday. That typically is the weekend that many Wishmaker parades are taking place. It's a great charity. It looks out for kids who are either terminally ill or very, very sick. We'll have 3 Wishmaker families with us that morning. And I know also Jason Silver, who works here with the city, he's also going to be participating in the St. John's Parade the very next day, right? So you're all invited along with the city staff and anybody else you want to bring along for a parade that morning, and please God, we'll have good weather. Thank you.
Amen. Councillor Stoyles, hands up.
I'm sorry, I forgot to mention the Avalon Regional Meeting, which is going to be down at the Mount Pearl Hotel, is on October the 14th and 15th, which is Friday night, and Saturday is a regional meeting. M&L is doing regional meetings all over the province, and the one for the Avalon is here in Mount Pearl. I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you very much. A final thought to pass along just before I look for a motion to adjourn. It is again to reference the retirement of MHA Dave Denine, who was truly a friend of this city. There's no doubt. We have enjoyed over the last 8 years a tremendous amount of growth in the city, a tremendous amount of provincial government support for the city. which I hope that over the years we've shown our appreciation for. But I do think that the city of Mount Pearl, we should formally recognize Mr. Denine's retirement. Don't know how we're going to do it. I'm throwing the challenge out to Community Services. That seems to be the committee that does this kind of stuff, to come up with an appropriate means and mechanism whereby we as a city can recognize the contribution that Dave Denine has truly made, both in municipal life in the city and also the benefits that arrive or accrue to the city from his participation in provincial politics. And I'd look forward to us discussing that in the next week or two, so that shortly after this election is over, and he has truly indeed been, as they say, formally put to pasture at that point in time, I think it would be nice for us to say, well, now that you're retired, I don't know, come have dinner with us or something. But we should do something to recognize him like that. I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn. It is moved by Councillor Tessier. We stand adjourned.